New Year's Eve, and I was basting the turkey when Grant's tablet lit up. Your order of blue enchantress has been delivered. Note card, to my one and only love, Happy New Year. The address was a 5-star hotel. I dried my hands and sent him a WhatsApp. The new sushi place downstairs supposedly has bluefin tuna, feel like trying it? He answered instantly, not coming back, something urgent at Farrell. Happy New Year, Serena. I smiled. 15 minutes later, every shareholder at Farrell received an anonymous email accusing him of embezzlement. Tonight I intend to leave him, root and branch, rotting in this New Year's darkness. The bells of New Year's are funeral bells for some, for my husband, Grant, among others. In the living room, the vintage Breitling wall clock glided past 10 with measured grace. The air was thick with rosemary-scented roast turkey and the lush berry perfume of the 90 Côte d'Or I had just decanted. I had crafted this magnificent finale just for him. On the table his tablet glowed like a demonic eye spying on the mortal world. A push notification popped up. XX Florist, Dear Casey, your blue enchantress for Suite 1908 has been received by Brielle. Note card, to my one and only love, Happy New Year. My nails dug into my palms, I felt no pain. Suite 1908, Ritz-Carlton Executive Floor. Brielle, his college day moonlight, Alex. I kept stirring the salad dressing, forearm steady as a surgical robot. For 5 years I had played the gentle, virtuous wife, wind in his sails, ornament to his family, even ATM for the penniless cousins back home. I had played it so well I almost believed it myself. Until this moment, when the string called reason snapped with a silent twang. No hysterics, no confrontation, not even a deletion. I simply took out my phone, photographed the notification, and dropped the image into an encrypted chat I hadn't opened in ages. The reply was instant. Serena, initiate settlement protocol? I answered with one word, yes. When it was done I dried my hands, carried the black truffle salad out of the kitchen, and wore a flawless smile. Grant walked in right on cue, snow on his shoulders. He spread his arms, pulled me close, rubbed noses, voice as tender as ever. Serena, I'm home. Did you miss me? He carried an alien perfume, cheap, cloying rose, nothing like his usual cedar. I rose on tiptoe, brushed a kiss to the corner of his mouth, soft as down. Of course. Look, everything you love. Guilt flickered across his face at the groaning board, but flawless affection smothered it. From behind his back he produced a beribboned box. New Year's gift, open it. A Van Cleef 4-leaf necklace, lovely, and utterly thoughtless. Same collection I'd received for my last birthday and our anniversary. Emery, it's gorgeous. I beamed, letting him clasp it around my throat. The cold metal lay like a viper. I traced the pendant. Busy at Farrell? Thought you'd be early. Year-end crunch, he said, loosening his tie, lies rolling off his tongue. Big projects to wrap, couldn't leave the meeting. Hard work. I stepped close, slid the silk noose free, and accidentally splashed red wine across his white shirt. Oops. I gasped, all apology. Sorry, so clumsy. No matter, just a shirt. He smiled, peeled it off, headed for the shower. Wait for me. The moment the water roared I walked into his closet and lifted the Mont Blanc he treasured, the one I'd given him when he landed his first 8-figure contract. He carried it everywhere. He didn't know its barrel now held a microdrive containing 2 years of evidence, every asset transfer, every cooked book, every tax dodge he and his Taylor clan had pulled inside Farrell. I plugged the pen into my private laptop, fresh data synced automatically. A folder titled Grant, his termites bloomed, row after row of one-way tickets to hell. Sync complete. I pocketed the drive, replaced the pen, and texted my lawyer, 2 hours. I want Grant suspended by the board. Then I poured myself a glass, walked to the picture window, and watched the city sparkle. Beautiful. Grant, look, I've arranged fireworks for you too. Enjoy the show. The bathroom door opened, he appeared in a towel, hair dripping. He embraced me from behind, chin on my shoulder, sighing at the sky blossoms. Serena, having you makes everything worth it. No matter how brutal the world is, the moment I'm home I'm at peace. I turned, tracing the angles of his face. Why, then, do you still want another home? I asked inside. Aloud, silly man. We're married. If I'm not good to you, who would I be good to? My act was seamless, gentle as spring water, enough to drown any man's vigilance. He kissed me, tasting of shower steam and possessive hunger. His phone shattered the moment, shrill, panicked. He frowned at the screen, color drained when he saw the CFO's name, Jordan. Ray, it's midnight, what? Irritation cracked his voice. Jordan's panic carried through the speaker. CEO. Disaster. Every Farrell Overseas account just got frozen by the Swiss banks. Grant froze. Frozen? On what grounds? Money laundering, illegal transfers. And 10 minutes ago every director received an anonymous email, complete cash flow evidence of our cooked books. How is this possible? His face turned chalk white. Impossible, those ledgers are triple encrypted. Only you and I. You forgot, love, Farrell's entire cyber fortress was built by my father's firm before we married, and I hold master-level backdoor privileges. CEO, no time. Jordan was almost sobbing. The board's exploding, emergency Zoom at once. And Shanghai Group just terminated all contracts, their legal notice landed 5 minutes ago. The final blade. Shanghai, 3 years of groveling, 40% of revenue. Without it Farrell is half a corpse. Grant lost all composure. Grounds, what grounds? Moral hazard in a partner, they said. Moral hazard, he echoed hollowly, then spun and stared at me. I met his gaze, all innocence and worry. Grant, what's wrong? You're scaring me. 10 seconds he searched for a crack, finding none, irritation replaced suspicion. Nothing, he muttered, dragging hands through his hair. Crisis at Farrell, I have to go. He dressed damp-haired, snatched his keys. You're not eating? I asked softly. No time, everything's on fire. At the door I straightened his collar. Drive safe, come back soon. Whatever happens, I'll be here. He paused, eyes unreadable, hugged me hard. When this is over I'll make it up to you, promise, I whispered. The door slammed. My smile melted. Oh, I'll wait for you to plummet from the clouds and shatter on the pavement. I returned to the table, carved a slice of turkey, juicy, fragrant, and savored my New Year's feast. My phone buzzed. Ms. Vance, mission accomplished. Grant has been suspended and an internal audit ordered. Press release hit every financial portal, markets will erupt at open. I replied, perfect. Tonight was only the amuse-bouche. The real banquet starts now. He came back at 3 a.m. I hadn't slept. Draped in silk, Yates open on my lap, I looked like a pre-Raphaelite wife awaiting her lord. He stumbled and reeking of alcohol, Ty Askew, eyes bloodshot, every inch the fallen titan. Seeing me, his face crumpled, he collapsed against me, sobbing. Serena, it's over, all of it. I stroked his hair. Tell me slowly. Out it poured, frozen accounts, boardroom coup, Shanghai's betrayal. Each bullet I had loaded. Someone's out to get me, has to be Julian. Always envied me, wanted my chair. I wiped his sweat, voice honeyed. Could be. Dylan has despised you for years. But pointing fingers won't pay December payroll, will it? Payroll? He gave a broken laugh. I can't cover next week. The board wants my hide. I don't know what to do. Head in hands, he groaned, king of the world reduced to a sniveling boy. Listen, I said, clasping his icy fingers. Dad's trust still holds 50 million, tricky, but for you I can convince the trustee. And this penthouse, bought outright in my name, can secure 30 million more. 8 should keep the wolves at bay. His head snapped up, eyes blazing with disbelief. Serena, you'd do that, for me? You're my Grant. Your war is my war. I smiled, tender and fierce. Money we can earn again, the marriage we can't lose. The last flicker of suspicion died, smothered by gratitude. He crushed me to his chest. I swear I'll make this up to you, tenfold. I know you will, I whispered, hearing the coffin lid close. When he slept like the dead, I slipped to the study, locked the door, and pulled a hollowed-out estate's coat from the shelf. Inside lay a burner phone. Eleanor, I said when she answered, Phase 2, Ms. Vance. Eleanor's voice was as steady as ever. I need you to do 3 things for me. I kept it short. First, draft a gift of assets agreement right now. Every piece of my separate property, the $50 million trust and this condo, will be gifted to Grant to cover his company debts. Make the contract airtight, but bury a single loophole only we can see. Second, call the bank and rush through a mortgage on the condo. Wire the proceeds to Grant's corporate account. Third, and most important, pull every string you have. Have the IRS and the white-collar unit walk through his doors tomorrow at dawn. I want that gift to become ironclad proof that he embezzled, evaded taxes, and plugged black holes with my money. Eleanor went quiet for a moment, then understood. Ms. Vance, you're planning to pull the rug out and lure him into the trap. No. I corrected her, voice cold as ice. I want him dead and buried. Dawn leaked through the blinds, striping the expensive Persian with bars of light. My body clock woke me exactly on time. Grant lay beside me, still asleep, browsing it even in dreams. I slipped out of bed and into the bathroom. The woman in the mirror looked calm, clear-eyed, no trace of hangover or lost sleep. For 5 years I had worked out, moisturized, read, polishing myself into a flawless artifact. Avery, I did it to please him, to keep up the trophy wife facade. He was wrong. I was simply preparing for this day. A woman needs a healthy body and a lucid mind to grip her sword when war comes. I changed into running gear, pounded out 5 miles on the treadmill, sweat soaking my t-shirt. That flood of endorphins sharpened every thought. Today would be a very long day. After my shower I made breakfast for Grant, seafood congee and 3 delicate side dishes. When he woke, this was the picture that greeted him, his wife busy in the kitchen, steam curling above the bowls, sunlight pouring in. A man could dream of no safer harbor. For a second his eyes blurred, then gratitude flooded them. Serena. He came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. You're an angel. Go wash up before the congee cools. I patted his hand, tone as gentle as ever. At the table his color looked better than last night, but worry still shadowed him. I slid a folder toward him. What's this? He asked, puzzled. Gift of assets agreement, I said lightly. Eleanor has already drafted it. Take a look and sign if it's fine. His hand trembled when he lifted the file. Page after page, his eyes widened. There it was in black and white. I, Serena, freely gift all my premarital property, the 50 million trust and the 30 million condo, to my husband Grant to solve his corporate crisis. He raised his head, lips parting, speechless. You really, sign quickly. I offered a fountain pen. I've spoken to the trustee and the bank. The moment you sign, the 80 million will hit the company account this afternoon. Grant's eyes turned red. This tailor who had clawed his way up from nothing had spent his life calculating and suspecting. He believed neither in selfless love nor in free lunches. Yet here I was, the wife he thought he owned, emptying my coffers at his darkest hour. That devotion shattered his last psychological defense. Without rereading a clause he grabbed the pen and scrawled his name across the last page. Serena. He sprang up, rounded the table, and crushed me in his arms. I swear on my life, Grant will never betray you. Never. I leaned against his shoulder, inhaling his familiar scent, my gaze frozen. Never betray me? Grant, do you realize the second you signed, you buried whatever feeling still lingered between us? You didn't sign a gift agreement. You signed a confession. A one-way ticket to hell tailored just for you. Inside the contract my legal sorceress Eleanor had woven a snare. The gift was legally conditional. Every dollar must repay legitimate corporate debt. Grant's largest holes were shady, off-book liabilities. The instant he funneled my money there he would commit gift fraud. I could rescind, claw everything back, and he would face heavier charges for using my clean funds to launder cooked books. Right now, though, he floated in tearful gratitude, clueless. He believed I had handed him resurrection capital. In truth I had handed him the final boulder that would crush him. My phone chimed. A WhatsApp from Alex, a selfie of her and Grant entwined on a hotel bed, fireworks blazing outside the window. Caption, Serena, thanks for the New Year gift Grant gave me, love it. Oh, he says he's sick of you. Once the company IPOs he'll dump you. Wise up and crawl away. A classic mistress taunt, stupid and pitiable. I studied Grant's tender, doting smile in the photo, indistinguishable from the one he gives me, so his warmth is mass-produced. Transferable to any buyer. I deleted the picture, then passed the phone to Grant. Grant, someone just pinged you. I thought it might be urgent from the office so I glanced. I lowered my eyes, voice small and hurt. Who, is this Brielle? The air solidified. Blood drained from his face in one sweep. He grabbed the phone. When the photo filled the screen his pupils spasmed. Clearly Alex had been moronic enough to send it straight to me. His first reaction wasn't to explain but to counterattack, indignant. "You snooped on my phone?" See the congenital reflex of men, when cornered, blame the woman for catching them. I didn't flinch. I lifted my head, tears pooling instantly, shoulders trembling like a wounded deer. "I didn't mean to," the banner popped up. "I thought it was the office." I bit my lip, quivering, refusing to cry, an image guaranteed to stir male guilt. Predictably, Grant's anger collapsed. Especially after signing his indenture, my tears weighed 1,000 pounds. "Serena, don't cry, let me explain." He reached for me, I gently pushed him away. "It's not what you think. She and I, just friends." His brain spun storylines at light speed. "Last night, office party, everyone was there, we got drunk, it's a joke shot, I swear, just friends?" I gave a tearful laugh. "Friends send 99 blue roses? Friends write 'my one and only' on the note card? Do I look brain-dead to you?" I had yanked out last night's thorn. Grant was thunderstruck. He hadn't known I'd seen the flowers. His mouth opened, color cycling from white to scarlet to ash. Any lie would sound feeble now, so he switched tactics. Thud, 6 foot+ of man dropped to his knees. "Serena, I was wrong. So wrong." He hugged my legs, bawling. "I lost my mind. That witch Alex seduced me. It was just a fling, you're my only love." Between sobs he slapped himself twice, sharp, crisp cracks, leaving crimson handprints. A first-rate self-flagellation show. Once upon a time I might have pitied him, now I only felt revulsion. This was the man I had loved for 5 years, gilded surface, rotted core. "Serena, I almost lost everything last night, I wanted to die. Forgive me this once." He gazed up tear-soaked. "I'll cut her off completely. You can track my phone 24/7, screen every trip, please, one more chance." He played the bankruptcy card, calculating that after my 80 million gift I wouldn't dare abandon the investment. He misread my sunk cost. I crouched slowly and wiped his tears with soft fingers. "Stand up." Hope flickered, he rose, arms out to embrace me. I stepped back. "Grant," I said, enunciating each word, "I want a divorce." Lightning struck behind his eyes. The color left his face again. Divorce? Serena, what nonsense, how can we? I told you it was just a game?" I cut him off, smiling a thin Arctic smile. "You funneled my money to another woman, also a game? How did you?" He bit his tongue, complexion mottling. "Hard to guess?" I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and surveyed the traffic below. Alex is a fresh grad, no family, no backers, yet she rents a penthouse on 5th, drives a Porsche, drapes herself in designer labels. Did she win the lottery? His lips quivered, words failed. "Let me tally, her flat costs 30 grand a month, the car 1.2 million. Over 5 years you've burned at least 5 million on her. Every cent came from our home, from our company. You used my dowry, my father's connections, to build your golden boy image, then spent the cash courting your side piece. Tell me, Grant," I stepped closer, eyes like blades, "on what planet do you deserve that?" Each sentence flayed another strip of his disguise. He retreated until his back hit the wall. The doorbell rang. He scrambled to open it, trembling. 2 uniformed officers and a plainclothes investigator stood outside. The lead man flashed a badge, voice mechanical. "Jamie? City Economic Crime Unit. We've received evidence that you and your firm are suspected of massive tax evasion, embezzlement, and commercial fraud. Please come with us for questioning." Grant's legs folded, he sagged against the jamb. "No, mistake. I didn't. Whether you did is for us to decide," the officer replied. "Cooperate." 2 young constables gripped his arms. Grant looked past them at me, despair and pleading in his eyes, certain this was Julian's follow-up blow and I was his last lifeline. I hurried forward, shock and worry plastered across my face. "Officer, there must be some misunderstanding. My husband is law-abiding." My performance was so convincing the men gave me sympathetic nods. "You're Casey's wife?" the senior man asked gently. "Don't worry, it's just questioning. If he's clean, we'll release him. Then I'm coming too." I clutched Grant's hand, tears streaming. "Grant, I'll stay with you," he squeezed back, voice breaking. "Serena." "Sorry, ma'am," the officer interrupted. "No contact during investigation. You can hire counsel or wait for our notice." They ushered Grant toward the elevator. He kept glancing back, shouting, "Serena, help me. Get me out." I rushed after them, sobbing, "Grant, I'll sell everything to bail you out." The doors slid shut, severing his terrified gaze. The instant they closed, my tears dried, every trace of panic vanished. I returned to the living room, poured a glass of water, and drank. Phase 1, perfect execution. Now for Phase 2, the turtle in the jar. I photographed the gift agreement Grant had just signed and texted it to Eleanor. "Eleanor," he signed. "Ms. Vance, all set," she replied within seconds. "The bank's $3 million mortgage approved, ready to wire. Trust side has unfrozen the $50 million. On your word the $80 million will flow into Grant's corporate account." "Not yet," I answered. "Let him stew inside for a couple of days. The fun of cat and mouse isn't the snap of the neck, it's watching the rodent thrash in your paw with nowhere left to run." I needed Grant to glimpse a single, fraudulent ray of light I had aimed into the abyss of his despair. Then I would snuff it out with my own hand. The next 2 days I passed in eerie serenity. I went to the flower market and carried home an armful of fragrant white Casablanca lilies, tossing the nearly dead roses from the vase straight into the trash. I hit the gym for a brutal boxing class, pounding the heavy bag until I pictured Grant's hypocritical face split open under every jab. I even strolled the boutique mall and bought myself several new coats for the coming season. The Farrells came knocking on the third morning. It was Dolores, Grant's mother. The second she crossed the threshold she lunged at me, hand raised to slap. "You jinx. Black Cloud bride. It's you, isn't it? You hexed my son. He's locked up and you're here eating and drinking. Where is your conscience?" I was ready. I stepped aside and let her stumble, almost crashing to the carpet. "Mother, what are you doing?" I frowned, arranging my face into hurt bewilderment. "What am I doing? I should ask you that." Dolores steadied herself and jabbed a finger at me. "Ayuan has been gone 3 days. And you, his Serena, haven't lifted a finger, no lawyer, nothing. Do you want him dead? You've misunderstood me." I sighed, then pulled a folder from beneath the coffee table. "I've been working on it. This is the lawyer I've hired, the best criminal defense partner in the country, $10,000 an hour." Dolores froze. She lifted the retainer agreement, eyes bulging at the string of zeros. "And," I went on, "I'm liquidating every penny of my separate premarital property, $80 million in all, to keep his Farrell afloat and pay off its debts. Once the company is clean, Ayuan walks free." I handed her the signed gift agreement. Dolores went blank. The mother-in-law who had always sneered at me as a spendthrift suddenly discovered that the despised daughter-in-law intended to uphold great righteousness and bankrupt herself for her son. Rage and resentment melted into shock, and a flicker of guilt. You mean it? You're really willing?" "Mother, he's my husband, we're family," I said, stepping closer to clasp her hand, voice earnest. "Maybe in the past I've fallen short. But now we have to band together and pull Ayuan through." Dolores met my sincere gaze, lips quivering, tears sliding down. Good Serena. I wronged you. Our Ayuan's luck in marrying you is 8 lifetimes of merit." She clutched my hands, sobbing uncontrollably. While I patted her back, I laughed coldly inside. Merit? No, karma. Once I soothed Dolores and packed the dazed old woman into her car, I rang Eleanor. "Eleanor, we're a go." "Yes, Serena." Half an hour later the full $80 million wire settled into Farrell's designated account. That tidal wave of cash revived the dying firm in an instant. The news reached the detention center at lightspeed. Grant's counsel, my gold-plated legal shark, told him immediately, "Casey, your wife has deposited $80 million to square the company's debts and tax fines. She's also retained our entire squad for a not guilty defense." Grant had spent 3 days behind bars, nerves shredded. He had assumed his life was over. When he heard, he could scarcely believe it. After confirmation, the man burst into noisy sobs in front of his lawyer. He wept not for his narrow escape. He wept over my devotion. He must have thought, how can such a foolish, loving woman exist? After betrayal, lies, imprisonment, instead of finishing him off she bankrupts herself to save him. What weighty, sublime love. The attorney later mimicked Grant's meltdown for me. I found it hilarious. Did he say anything? I asked. He did. The lawyer paused, tone odd. He said when he gets out he'll kneel, cut out his heart and hand it to you. That he'll owe you forever, even if he spends lifetimes as your beast of burden. Did you? I chuckled. Tell him to cooperate, come home early. I'll be waiting. Yes, I'm waiting. Waiting for him to walk free so he can watch me shove him into an even deeper pit. Flush with the 80 million, everything sailed along. Back taxes and penalties were wiped out in one stroke. The public funds he'd funneled to patch cooked books were restored without a paper trail. With the accounting holes plugged, the Economic Crimes Unit lost its smoking gun. The investigation stalled. Because Grant showed good attitude, fooled by me, and full cooperation, dreaming of early reunion, my ace team secured bail after 15 days. On his release I collected him. Half a month had shaved 20 pounds off him. His face was haggard, eyes timid. When he saw me, he reddened and rushed to hug me. Instinctively I sidestepped. He lurched, awkwardly frozen. Realizing my slip, I stepped in and murmured, "You've just come out, bad luck clings. Let's go home, shower, cleanse the aura." Grant suspected nothing. Head hung like a scolded kid, he trailed me. Back home he bolted to the bathroom, scrubbing himself raw. When he emerged in a robe, he dropped to his knees again. Unlike his earlier panic, this kneel reeked of ritual penance. "Serena," he choked, tears flooding, "I'm sorry." "Thank you." "Get up," I said flatly. "No." He shook his head, stubborn. "Not until you say you forgive me." "Forgive what?" I asked. "For betraying you, for letting you suffer and pay so much." He gulped sobs. "If I ever wrong you again, may lightning strike me dead." A touching oath indeed. Looking at him, I almost laughed. "Grant, while you were inside, Alex came to see me." His face blanched. At the name Alex, panic flashed in his eyes. "What did she want? What poison did she spew?" he demanded, terrified the woman would shatter his reclaimed haven. "Nothing much," I shrugged. "She informed me she's pregnant. The child is yours." The sentence detonated like a bunker buster in the living room. Grant froze on his knees, swaying. Pregnant? Impossible. Why impossible? You were together New Year's Eve. The timing fits. Each syllable, light as small talk, bored like an awl into his heart. He knew it was possible, his wild eyes confessed. "Serena, listen, we used protection. It can't. Save it. She's pregnant. Says if you refuse the child and won't divorce me to marry her, she'll feed the story to the press, and march to the fraud squad with proof you kept her on salary, bought her cars, condos, the works." I watched terror crawl across his face. "Grant, you're on bail. A scandal now means back to jail, charges multiplied. That bitch. She wouldn't dare," he roared, veins pulsing at his temples. "But she is daring. So, do you divorce me and make her Mrs. Farrell, or pay her to disappear?" I set the classic morality trap in front of him. Marry Alex? Impossible. Everything he had came from me, without me he was zero, and he'd seen her greed. Let her expose him? Suicide. Only one option remained. After Ellis he lifted his head, jaw set. Pay her. Whatever it takes. I'll never see her again. I'd waited for exactly those words. How much? $1 million? 2? I arched a brow. Whatever shuts her up, he cried, frantic. But company funds are frozen, your personal account's empty. Where will the money come from? He stared, dumbstruck, penniless, all hope pinned on me. Serena. He rasped. I sighed, drew a bank card from my purse and pressed it into his palm. $2 million here, my last secret stash. I waited the word last. End it. I never want to hear her name again. My voice rang with the weariness of a wife pushed beyond endurance. He accepted the sliver of plastic as though it were a holy relic, knuckles white. Serena, this is the last time. My life is yours. Go, I said, turning away. He scurried off to phone Alex. Watching his retreating back, I dialed another number, Alex's. Brielle, he bit. She squealed on the line, Serena, you're genius. Us girls have to stick together against dogs like him. Remember the script, I cut in coldly. After you get the cash, go straight to police, accuse him of paying you to abort, call it hush money. Got the recorder? Loud and clear. Mission guaranteed. Alex's pregnancy was fiction from day one, my pawn, stupid, greedy, useful. I promised her $5 million and a new life overseas after she delivered the final blow, an airtight extortion charge that would haul Grant back behind bars, this time forever. Grant, you think you're solving a problem? No, you're digging your own grave and happily lying down in it. They met in a quiet cafe. Grant assumed it would be simple, cash for a promise to abort. What he didn't know was that every corner held a pinhole camera I had installed, and Alex's purse hid a running recorder. From my study I watched the farce play out live on my laptop screen. The moment he sat, Grant shoved the $2 million card across the table, voice frigid. $2 million inside. Password is your birthday. Take it, get the abortion, vanish. If I ever see or hear from you again, you know what I can do. He tried menace to cloak terror. Following my script, Alex flashed a greedy smirk. $2 million? Grant, am I begging in the street? This heir of the pharaoh fortune is worth pocket change? Grant's face turned livid. Don't push me. You know my situation. $2 million is everything I can scrape together. Oh, I know, you're out because Serena emptied her accounts. $80 million rescued you, and you toss me too? Nice math. Grant spluttered, speechless. $5 million, flat price. Pay, I'm on the operating table tomorrow. Otherwise I march to your house, wave the ultrasound at Saint Serena and tell her how you murder your own flesh and blood. Grant leapt up, eyes blood red like a cornered beast. Just watch me. Alex looked fearless. I knew it was time for me to make my entrance. I speed-dialed Grant. When he saw my name on the screen it was like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over him, the swagger vanished. He shot Alex a venomous glare, then strode to a quiet corner to take the call. Hey, Serena. His voice flipped back to tender mode. Where are you? I asked, feigning indifference. I'm out talking business with a friend. He lied smoothly. Oh. I let the syllable hang, then switched to a fragile, exhausted whisper. Grant, I feel awful, my chest's so tight. Come home and stay with me, please? My words traveled the line and sank straight into his ear, an invisible vice. On one side waited Alex, explosive and unpredictable. On the other waited the perfect wife who had given him everything, now crumbling and needing him. Which way the scale would tip was obvious. Okay, Serena, don't think too much, I'll be right there, he promised frantically. The instant he hung up he marched back to Alex and spat through clenched teeth. $5 million it is, but this is the last time. Sam, vanish tonight, of course. Alex grinned like a cat full of canary. Grant dialed me again. Serena, this deal is huge, but I'm $3 million short. Could you? He was already calling his blackmail a partnership. Sure. I didn't hesitate. 30 minutes later the $3 million landed in the account he specified, Alex's account. On my monitor I watched the transfer alert pop up on her phone. She rose, gave Grant a victorious smile. Pleasure doing business, CEO. Then she slung her purse over her shoulder and walked out. Grant stared after her, eyes so dark they looked lethal, as if he were already ordering a hit. He probably promised himself that once he clawed his way back the first thing he'd do was make that extortionist pay. Too bad he wouldn't get the chance. Alex left the cafe, but she didn't go far. She ducked into an alley, thumbed 3 digits, 911. Her voice cracked with sobs and terror. Officer, please help. A man forced $5 million on me and threatened me if I don't abort my baby. I'm terrified. At the same moment I rang Eleanor. Eleanor, time to close the net. Understood, Ms. Vance. 3 minutes later, Grant stepped out, keys in hand, ready to race home and play hero. 2 squad cars, lights strobing, screeched to a stop, boxing his Bentley in. Officers climbed out and headed straight for him. The lead detective was the same one from before. He looked Grant up and down, contempt undisguised. Jamie, we meet again. We've received a complaint. You're under investigation for felony extortion, and for violating your bail conditions. Come with us. Grant's expression froze mid-breath. He gaped at the cops, then at the alley where another officer was protecting a weeping Alex. In that second the puzzle clicked. He spun toward our apartment tower across the avenue. Even blocks away I could feel that gaze, despairing, hateful, bewildered, drilling through glass and steel, pinning me to the wall. He couldn't understand. He never would. How the woman who loved him beyond reason had personally marched him to the gallows. I stood at the study window, lifted my wineglass, and toasted the distance. Goodbye, husband. No, ex-husband. Once Grant was taken away, the world went quiet. This time witness, exhibits, recordings, transfer logs, every shred of evidence locked into a perfect circle. He would answer not only for extortion, legally, paying someone to violate their will qualifies as coercion, but also for breaching the no-contact clause of his bail. Old scores and new were settled together. My strike team of lawyers, on my fresh instructions, morphed from his defense counsel into his executioners. They filed a supplemental brief detailing how Grant, while on bail, had tried to buy off the fallout of his philandering and intimidate the complainant, posing extreme societal risk. They asked the court to disregard his prior remorse and impose the maximum. A knife from your own attorney is impossible to survive. They say he went berserk in the detention house when he heard, screaming my name, branding me devil, viper, architect of it all. But who listens to a madman? To the world he was simply a cornered rat snapping at shadows. His mother, the woman who once thought marrying a virtuous wife was the jackpot, came begging. This time she didn't shriek or insult. She dropped to her knees, tears streaming, pleading, "Quinn, spare her son." I helped her up and showed her a single sheet. A paternity test. Between Grant and me, we are first cousins. My mother and his father were full siblings. My mom had quit school at 15 to fund her little brother's tuition, slaved in sweatshops, married a coal tycoon, my father, and had me. Her brother stayed behind, married poor, and raised Grant in a shack. 2 branches, sky and mud. Guilt ate at mom, she wired them money for years. Dad found out, raged, called her a brother-worshipping fool, called uncle a leech. The fighting never stopped until Dad cheated and Mom, broken, jumped from our terrace when I was 10. After the funeral Dad severed every tie. I discovered the truth sorting her things, her locked diary, the uncle I never met, the cousin I never wanted. Years later I walked into Dad's conference room and met a bright entrepreneur in a frayed shirt pitching his dream, Grant. It took me one day to confirm, my cousin, the son my mother had bankrolled. And how did he repay his benefactor's daughter? He milked my connections, siphoned my inheritance, bankrolled his mistress with money my mother left me. I laid the diary pages and the lab report in front of Dolores, my aunt. She shook so hard the papers rattled, speechless. "Aunt," I said, soft and arctic, "you know how my mother treated you. And you've seen how Grant repaid me. I didn't take his life. I only reclaimed what was mine, and charged a modest fee for his sins. Tell me, am I excessive?" Her mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Finally she collapsed on the carpet, wailing. I left her there. I didn't care whether she mourned her son or the sister-in-law whose grave we both knew. It no longer mattered. All debts were paid. Grant's trial was swift. Consecutive sentences totaled 10 years. His hollowed-out Farrow Group filed for bankruptcy. As the wrong spouse and largest creditor, the $8 million gift voided by fraud, I walked away with every salvageable asset, the distribution channels he'd spent years cultivating, the client list he'd bragged about at galas. I folded them into Dad's conglomerate and handed the keys to his integration team. Dad studied me, eyes unreadable. He hadn't expected his hothouse daughter to wield thunder. "Finished?" he asked. "Finished," I answered. "Plans?" "I'm returning to practice." Once I'd been top of my class, winner of every moot court prize, I'd walked straight into a white shoe firm. If I'd never met Grant I'd already be partner. For a man I'd shelved ambition, dreams, self. Now I would retrieve them, one by one. Dad hesitated. "If you need introductions." "No." I cut in gently. "Thanks, Dad. From here, I row my own boat." He exhaled at length and nodded. I stepped back into the firm where I'd once been an intern. Eleanor, my mentor, the matrimonial legend who had scripted every trap, greeted me herself. "Welcome home, Serena." Your office waited. Sunlight glossed the mahogany desk, my nameplate winked like a blade. A full-circle moment. Only this time my armor was thicker, my sword keener. My first new file, a trembling college in the conference room, eye swollen. Her husband, she sobbed, had cheated while she was pregnant, shifted every marital asset, and now demanded a clean divorce, leave with nothing. Same script, different cast. I saw myself years ago in her reflection. No, I saw my mother. "Stop crying." I slid a tissue across the table, voice calm, relentless. Tears by neither pity nor victory. Dry your face. Then tell me everything, comma by comma. From this minute I am your weapon. Together we will take back what is yours. The girl's sobs quieted, a spark rekindled in her eyes. Another war had just been declared, but this time I would not fight alone. After the college left, I stayed at my desk a long while. Golden late day light pooled through the plate glass, warm on my shoulders. I opened the drawer and lifted the Mont Blanc. The pen that once concealed Grant's ruin now lay hollow. The microdrive that stored every crime was boxed in the court archives, its duty done. I rolled the cold barrel between my fingers and let memories flood in. The first meeting, Grant in a bleached white shirt, voice racing with dreams in Dad's boardroom. The trip to his mountain village, him pointing at the ridge, vowing to haul his family past those peaks. The aisle, his hand steady on mine, promises of forever echoing under stained glass. Once those frames had been my treasures, now they played like soundless satire. Had I been wrong? I asked myself. If I'd been softer, granted one reprieve, would the story have ended differently? Maybe we'd have joined the ranks of couples who survive storms, glue cracks, pose smiling until old age. But that life allowed stains, and my love tolerated none. In my universe, betrayal carried a death sentence. I rose and moved to the window. Below, yellow cabs jostled, pedestrians streamed. In time, even the loudest hearts quiet to footnotes. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I answered. A timid, fawning voice filtered through. Is this Ms. Vance? Speaking. Thank heavens. A relieved exhale. It's Alex. I'm in Paris. Morgan. The 5 million arrived. Good. A shaky breath. Grant, 10 years, is it true? Yes. Silence stretched, punctuated by her muted sobs, regret, terror, liberation, who knew? Ms. Vance, she whispered at last, could I ask, did you always what? I countered. Nothing. She swallowed the rest. Riley, all the best. The line clicked dead. I set the phone aside, smiling. She wanted to know if every step had been orchestrated, if she'd been a pawn from day one. Yes and no. Had Grant kept his vows, the pendrive would have rotted in darkness and Alex mere footnote. He hit the launch button himself, I merely nudged him into the flames. I pushed the sash wide, evening wind curled in, cool and clean. With a flick of my wrist the Mont Blanc sailed out, tracing an elegant arc until it vanished into the river of headlights below, mirroring the burial of my marriage, my obsolete heart. Goodbye, Grant. Life was back on track, more brilliant than I'd ever dared to imagine. I poured myself into work, and with a rock-solid grasp of the law and instincts sharper than a scalpel, I carved out a place for myself at the firm in record time. I specialized in matrimonial and asset warfare. Case after case, I never lost. Soon I was the last lighthouse for women who'd run out of shore. They nicknamed me Nemesis. I didn't care for labels, I was simply doing what I knew to be right. I helped them claw back every dollar their husbands had buried, fought for custody of their kids, and marched smug cheaters into courtrooms where the masks finally cracked and the price tags of their sins were handed down. Every victory, every time a client smiled like she'd just been handed a new life, a private warmth pulsed through me, the quiet satisfaction of bending the universe 1 millimeter closer to fairness. My reputation grew, my calendar fattened, and I built my own team. I spun like a top from dawn to midnight, owning almost no waking hour that was strictly mine, and I loved it. Busyness, I learned, is a miracle drug. One evening I stepped out of the courthouse fresh from cross-examining a hedge fund Casanova when an unexpected silhouette froze me mid-stride. Julian, Grant's former partner, the man Grant had blamed as the puppet master who destroyed him, now leaning against a black Bentley in a razor-cut suit that screamed boardroom resurrection. After Farrell collapsed, Julian had swallowed its juiciest divisions whole. Today the industry jumped when he coughed. Counselor Serena, he greeted, gliding toward me with a shark's grin. Congrats, another flawless execution. Julian, why are you here? I kept my voice dipped in ice. Whatever Grant was or wasn't guilty of, Julian's rap sheet was just as dark. He and my ex-husband were two wolves wearing each other's fleas. Don't be so inhospitable. Unfazed, he flicked out an embossed business card. Private cocktail tonight, A-list only. Humor me? I didn't take it. Sorry, I have a settlement meeting. Serena, he said, smile thinning, eyes sharpening to obsidian. We share a common enemy, that should make us friends. We are not friends. I brushed past, reaching for the car door. Don't you want news from inside? His words landed like a hook between my shoulder blades. My hand froze on the handle. I pivoted. He bared a fox's triumphant smirk. Ride with me. One drink, and I'll brief you. I wavered, barely, then climbed in. I did want to know how Grant was doing. Not from lingering affection, pure, icy curiosity. I wanted to picture the king who'd fallen from his self-made throne and now wallowed in the gutters he once sneered at. We ended up in a members-only club that smelled of old port and new power. Julian ordered a bottle the price of a Tesla and poured himself the first glass. Grant's life inside is hell, he began, swirling Bordeaux-like gossip. First month, he kept babbling you'd spring him. When the inmates finally convinced him you put him there, he lost it, raving that you're Medusa incarnate, Satan in stilettos. I rolled the stem between my fingers, silent. Prisons aren't kind to madmen, he continued, savoring every syllable. He mouthed off to the wrong gang, earned daily beatings. Last month a brawl left him a shattered tibia. They said it was state-funded steel, he'll limp for life. My hand paused mid-sip. Now he's docile, Julian said, studying me. Eat, sleep, break rocks, repeat, an ambulatory corpse. I sipped, not tasting a thing. I felt neither vindictive pleasure nor pity, only a cavernous blankness, as though someone else's cautionary tale were being recited. Why tell me? I set the glass down. I want a merger, you and me. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. What you did to Grant was surgical, I couldn't have orchestrated it better. You demolished him, inherited every chip on the table, and still walked off wearing the white hat. That finesse, pure art, we are nothing alike. I rose, smoothing my blazer. Wait. He blinked. You dismantled one empire, together we could build another. My crusade was personal. It's finished. I turned away without another heartbeat wasted. As I reached the corridor his voice slid after me like oil. Serena, you'll come begging. I didn't look back. The prophecy clung like cheap perfume, but I scrubbed it off with 80-hour weeks. I underestimated how low he'd stoop. 1 month later my firm was ambushed. A brilliant junior, hand-raised by me, was framed for fabricating exhibits in a divorce so the client could hide marital millions. Tabloids feasted, our phones melted. I knew this kid, he'd sooner burn his bar certificate than cheat. Somebody had baited our intern, mixing promises of cash and threats of exposure to swap one PDF for another. And the plaintiff's counsel? Julian's in-house legal squad. Lights on, it was a shakedown. Partners sweated, associates whispered, clients bailed. Everyone begged me to have coffee with Julian, bow, apologize, whatever it took. I locked myself in my office until sunrise, running calculus after calculus. Compromise meant chaining myself to a man who mistook morals for marketing. Battle risked reducing everything I'd rebuilt to ash. When the sky outside turned pewter, my choice crystallized. I'd rather detonate than kneel. I dialed my father for the first time since the divorce. Dad, I need help. Long silence. Sure, positive. I'm going to make him pay. Then let's bury him, he said, one sentence, granite solid. With Dad's old school network I finally had artillery to match Julian's money. He sicked bloggers on me, paid city desks to resurrect the fake scandal, tried to freeze my lines of credit. I counterfiled, exposed his shell corporations, and quietly subpoenaed every scrap of his past. Julian proved wilier than Grant, his books immaculate enough for a museum. Still, humans leave blood traces. I spent 3 months exhuming his biography, grammar school trophies, barista ex-girlfriends, every lift receipt. At the bottom I found it, a sick younger sister, overseas, battling severe aplastic anemia, chemo, marrow transplants, experimental biologics. The monthly bill could float a yacht. Where had a penniless startup kid found the first down payment for that lifeline? Digging deeper, I unearthed a decade-old traffic fatality, a rival entrepreneur T-boned by a disappearing driver weeks before a pitch competition Julian eventually won. The Hitron's family Sam moved to Portugal 6 months later, bank wire thick enough to purchase villas. I flew there myself, convinced the driver that anonymity was no longer an option, and walked away with a full confession on tape. I set the recorder and the paper trail on Julian's mahogany desk like a bouquet of black roses. Watching his face cycle through smug, stunned, and ruined was a mirror of Grant's last day outside a courtroom. Why? He croaked. Because I warned you, I answered. I'll never dance to a tune you whistle. Julian got life without parole for conspiracy to murder, corporate fraud, money laundering, enough counts to wallpaper a prison wing. His empire devoured itself within weeks. I didn't touch a single share, I preferred the view from the gallery. The scandal inverted our press, the firm that toppled a god became the hottest ticket in town. Reporters who'd hounded us now sang hosannas, the framed smear pages hang in our break room as a reminder. I thought the story was over. Then the warden patched through a call from the penitentiary. Grant requested contact. Curiosity, again, won. Serena, he rasped after a pause so long I thought the line dead. Julian's inside too. You're doing? Yes. A bitter chuckle crackled down the line. I told myself you only punished me for cheating. I see now you despise the world itself. Wrong, I corrected. I insist that every debt be paid, mine by choice, yours by force. Even you carry blood on your conscience, he hissed. You manipulated Alex, forged evidence frames, trampled rules. What separates you from us? My ledger's clean, I replied. I never killed, never stole. I simply restored the balance you tipped. Silence answered, then the click of surrender. I set the receiver down, stared at the cloudless sky, and felt, nothing storming, nothing thundering. Was I different, truly? Perhaps not. Desire is desire, mine is for order, theirs was for gluttony. 6 months later I resigned, handed clients and staff to my deputy, and seeded a non-profit bankrolled by every bonus I'd refused to spend. We give free counsel and therapy to women too bruised to fight, the ones who remind me of a 22-year-old Serena once left on a courthouse step clutching shredded dreams. On opening day sunlight poured like champagne. Former clients arrived carrying blossoms and children and photographs of new beginnings. A college I'd pulled from a domestic war zone hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. Thank you for showing me the dawn still exists, she whispered. My cheeks grew wet, surprising, embarrassing, human. I lifted my gaze to the skyline where skyscrapers caught the dawn and hurled it back. The long, hate-fueled night that began the day Grant betrayed me was finally over. From this horizon on there would be no more Grant, no more ghosts in tailored suits, only the road ahead, and light.